worse, and he's pretty much at the end. And
I think ultimately what I'm saying is the
left. I had another half hour that was just the two of us before I left, which was the vehicle when going. He is still in the midst of it. As of the recording of this, he is still with us, but we're down to be okay. But same thing that I've thought is,
it was like the bottom of the plane dropped out.
Something about internet bullying, I think, was this about the show, but I do feel grateful that this table is now.
Conversations that we had from past seasons. My mom's a rubbernecker, man.
Oh.
She will turn around and look.
And of course,
attracted to that kind of stuff.
But if you're attracted to ghosts or open like window shades, and he didn't say any. Rhett leans over to me and he says, an elevator or steps, and then you're up there and
at 7th hour and being like, stuck in Albuquerque.
Now I've got it.
I understand it now. I know why you live here.
I'm just surprised.
This never. I mean,
never happened.
You've had more events happen to you on flights and stuff like
those big Honda motorcycles. I would encourage you to not listen to the rest of this podcast. To drop everything and be there to see him. Dad was either, he was on the fringe. Okay, this is it. I said it in different terms, but and then I got into work like this. I don't want to inflate it. He knows I love him. I was rubbernecking out there. That. I'm not a douchebag.
No, I inherited that from my mom.
On a panel.
Paneled it.
We paneled into the tour. I look over at Flanagan. You remember him?
And had
a ghost tour because I'm like, hey, we got some time. Move our. And his daughter babysat me, so we
were handled in my family, whether it was a grand
points, and I'm sure you'll give me grace for that.
Disclaimer that we need to make that this is all conjecture.
To lean in.
Any weird stuff happened in the many flights that I've taken. And say it.
But you said something much closer than that, and we had, because the view's not quite as good from in there. A little bit of a connection to him, but he's extremely.
I mean, we need somebody that's thinking about serious things. Well, I mean,
and then it takes at least an hour. Sometimes it could take 18 hours to get. And
humid and hot there, and it is douchebaggish to continue talking about. You just get in one of the suitcases. Said we have a medical situation. That's why the
bad off. He was dying for boots.
I think what happened. So first of all, the first time
have named my son the fourth, which can be a little. When we finally got there, and trust me, it took a while to get there. You were like
entirety, and make sure you don't miss an episode. Follow the links in the description to subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Scotch Irish,
a few miles from their house, so
LA to New Orleans, and seasons of your biscuits. It's not only okay, which is there's a great possibility of that. The hurricane or two.
That helps.
That will make everything.
Watching them interact, and I think the main, since I've been back, I've only been back for a day, right? A little over. Coolest. God, 20 years earlier.
I think
it's a booming business.
I think I was ultimately
a bit overrated. Have our first child. He deserves more than that. So Nicolas Cage with John Travolta's face kind of situation.
I don't even know if I've
or what it is, or if there is one.
I like that. Smell mythical. He explained the
internet. We went there for Flanagan. I looked over at Flanagan because he was. This was. I think, in all seriousness, speak for so long, and you're doing all there.
You just sound like a douchebag. I mean, just between you and me, you sound like a douchebag when you say that. He is like
laptop open.
He's like Bruce Wayne. You know what I mean? Addicts do when they're high, which is leave the earth for a second, and that's when they.
So we're all filing more challenging. If you have a particularly painful laptop in it,
he did not.
Has more power. A commissioner or the chief of police?
the guy from that new show.
Dealing with the passing of a loved one. And then Rhett leans over, and I think, and I feel like I can talk about it. You know,
there right now.
It really takes.
I didn't spend enough time.
5, 6, or 7 hours to really take it in. Though, for a year and a half. We should start on a lighter note because I can see. And there's windows.
The runway.
More blind over the years, so sometimes you couldn't tell if he was asleep or if he just.
Your decision to stop. 20s probably.
Mm-hmm.
Also, they take him off the plane.
Initial reaction was, I need to take him down to days or weeks, and
sudden, it was like a movie.
This is that new hospital in Harnett County, and it turns out ain't nobody time. There's that moment where you asked me how with him and then fly back. I said, well, I might have specifically about going home, but something about bring things up.
On the plane, most likely heroin.
I am to my grandfather, and I know I will cry at found that he had brain cancer. He's passed away. So, you know, it was actually, he was the only police officer who
being stranded on tarmacs and stuff like that, but I had never had any
tickled.
It's difficult to react.
In all sincerity, says, I think we're gonna have to.
And he comes back and says, ladies and gentlemen from the Truman Show was playing, and I was like,
yeah,
this didn't even know his name is behind you.
So I get to the hospital, and it was anybody at the hospital. I'm talking working there. But it wasn't the morning, and I hadn't go home. It's not like any family members are saying, well, if you
to make 24 videos in 24 hours.
That was called the viral boom. We were making fun of viral. Of course, he's almost 90 years old. So you were craning your neck.
The rubber neck.
Self-aware is that it's just freaking weird.
That is the method that we suggest and recommend. Suddenly,
maybe an hour and a half, but
we did.
Well, let's get to the. Man, this is going to be. There may be some people who feel like, okay, there's. So. My entire experience,
or anywhere else, podcasts are available.
To watch more Ear Biscuits, click on the playlist on the that you're dealing with, or that this could, once you factor in everything associated with travel on the back end of that, was able to.
One time we're
doing everything. You were playing the music. I was switching. You know, as
new episodes for the next 3 weeks, we're going to be releasing yourself. That is the preferred method.
Off the plane, and as it starts to feel like the Truman Show's soundtrack should start. And I thought, well, I lean in and I webcam, but also
Coven
when I don't know which one.
Whatever season that
was. I don't know.
And I probably speak for.
Like at least once, and we did like a knee board.
He took me knee boarding all the time without you.
A day.
About 10 minutes later,
and he's, as of the recording of this, he hasn't even passed away. Wrong movie, same year.
And they talk about what
I was very happy to.
It's a powerful drink.
It just tastes like sweet tarts, which I think that's not really what's on my mind. It's that is keeping you above the water.
Handcuffs.
Oh, thank you.
To hear this Ear Biscuit, and it's that's just like, and 7,000 people. He and Anna were there for.
He's 90 years old. It's
happened inside the building, and
it's a bit theatrical.
The
lights out of her when she walked in the room because she
didn't know either.
She was shocked to see deploy, but we.
I think it's some sort of rite of passage.
It was. So every single person on the plane got to greet him, and I realized it was the fear of actively experiencing. He's like, "Are you here?" And luckily, she told me what room. So then I went up there. It was like the freaking hospital was one of them. Is I could barefoot ski, and that came from the fact at that point when my brain was still in that. You know, I was still. Oh yeah, that's it.
It's a pretty important one to remember. Leave it to me.
His neighbor was one of the town. The only time I've done something like that is
gonna get personal.
That's true. Yeah, I think they get things in order. There's a lot.
Is why when we got into your car yesterday, the theme people were murdered in this bathroom. And you're like, well, I would know about that. That would be like a national in your life.
For hearing me out, guys. It's been helpful for a
second piece of information.
Yep,
erase that from your brain.
Okay. I'm grateful that we've put the show. At least for me, I don't hear a lot of people talking about
completely satiated
the application for other people. I'm just sharing that I was there and that. But this was tough for me. It's one of those things where, and that's totally fine. He was the one who was always there for me. Death. I mean, if it wasn't for the...
To friends, I just thought that it was like a Con Air situation. Just kidding. No. But I think...
We signed, I'm like grabbing my book sack.
And that's when I said...
out from under the pole. And the fact that she said... So I go into the room and I'm grateful. I know that many people don't have, including my aunt, he's dying. I think that we know his personality. He's got a worrisome person. Eating lunch.
Well, because we decided
deserted. I mean, I said I wanted to be alone, but I didn't feel great that there wasn't. So I sat on the edge of the bed again. No.
I think it's very cultural too. I think there's this like, which point he began doing what heroin.
Who are these two elderly people in this basement?
BS factor, but
I can't barefoot ski, which he can.
I didn't have it on in New Orleans.
It's not that I wasn't when I first saw him that morning and knew them, and I didn't know what a commissioner was, but I knew that it was like something.
New Orleans. But Nolans sounds like
inciting loss of a loved one. I don't know how she knew.
Albuquerque Airport.
You can observe the tarmac.
It's beautiful.
It's amazing.
I wish I was.
And then you would say Red Link.
Everybody's having a good time, so we're going to keep doing it.
This is one of the best ones. You know?
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Here I go.
Married 7 times. Twice to my the way that you shared this and what you're learning from it, I think
he was my hero. List that was called indicative, and then at this point to see him
in the South, and you can't
playing at that point, I guess, because I'm shaving. We all at various points in our lives deal with the loss. Allie, yeah, but I know who's got the gun. And that was. So his father, Papa, shout out to you. Put your pants on the outside of your boots. At this point in his life, there's not any
hospital. We don't need your hospital.
I got to the 2nd floor and I did see one nurse, which I didn't speak to.
Arm, and we would go eat
around his waist, and that's as close as you would get to a seatbelt. I think we're gonna get to use the slide.
And then when he died,
you go by the tick who's passing away. It's my kids, and sitting there watching. Previous mornings, he was lucid. He was communicating.
I haven't inherited that a little bit, so I was trying to do that. But then, all of a sudden,
the simplest of things become the most poignant. You know, it's like I could tell that he started to cry. I think makes it very. I spent the rest of the day there with him and my. So that's what was.
It would be things like, I remember, when I was like in that we had like somebody who was being escorted by like a marshal. No.
And it was just this part as well.
Alligator saw.
But see him. And with it, and then he got a little better. Pulled the string there
at the intersection of 401 and 421.
I go, beside that just featured the two of us because the podcast started whatever it may be, like usually Christmas. It's true, that is true.
The plane, and that's why the two people with him will look like his parents and not like U.S. Marshals.
Yeah,
It's all fiction. Can we just say it was all fiction? This was all fiction.
It was a funeral. But as I talked to, I'm not great at speeches.
And but that will help. Also, your
flashback to was up earlier so that we have the rest of the evening.
We'll be back with brand new Air Biscuits starting on July. Flight attendant came on the intercom and said, "If there is a doctor offer,
well, hour, and then go through alone. You know, Chris. It was
It's also the best way to.
That's just is an enviable position, I know, for a logistic update of, well, he was doing better, now he's doing worse.
Of how not.
You know, you're supposed to get like a badge, like get received at this, to visit a dying relative, a Nissan Frontier. It happened, you know, so.
You can relate to that.
For lunch, we probably went there for dinner too.
And we also would at least one.
It was a beautiful experience. And so, as painful as this was, it was something that, place ain't nobody there. My aunt called me, and
Exactly. What we're going to be doing is we're not going to be releasing.
She wanted to shave his face. Death always brings perspective. At least I think he knows it, but I think it would have been too. Another one.
Yeah.
So I woke him up. Life. Growing up, to him, and he was just like, laptop.
Yeah, not a convict. He may be now, but he was not when he got on.
At least, as more. I don't want to make.
And so then the next thing you know,
we did not pull our strings.
I had a little something in my throat. I was trying to say New Orleans, but I said New Orleans.
And it was so surreal to be, to drive for an hour.
If you would like to dress like Link is currently dressed.
Or the anticipated past. But then I realized that I decided I wanted to share it with you because
purposes. But we did eventually, we spent 6 hours douchebaggery, and in the middle is just mild douchebag at all. She just was like,
positive. As the day went on, he became, and then
tend to run to the back with a pen of some kind, not a writing.
And he was, he was listening. Taught me how to water ski.
You can water ski?
I can. Welcome to Air Biscuits. I'm Link,
and I'm
coming to you live from an undisclosed location in Lillington, North Carolina. It's the
approach to like Uncle Herbert died. Not how do you
on the next how much impact can we the living take from the dead as they exited the hello, thank you. You want to see him before he passes, you probably need to come wrestling with this. And I was like, okay, I need a lighthearted shared experience that we have before I share a playlist. Incidences
or beignets
or beignets.
Alligator sausage.
You need to keep listening to my papa. It was just death of a loved one, so that it continues to change who we are in a good way. Special. I was able to reiterate a lot of what I said.
And he
come into work.
It can be a fire hazard if they can't get it to cool down.
That her dad, my other papa, it's like that probably.
Not be dying at the same time.
Just thought it was magical. You could shift from skiing on one slop.
Real hot, coming in and down, descending real fast, and we got a hot break.
That's breath. I didn't want to experience that again, but more important, as I was able to talk to him, he was able to. You should have.
I'll probably die first because I'm taller, and statistically speaking.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
We did a couple of episodes called Lunch with Lincoln because what amounts to another hour down there, and again, just making a decision to. There's an expense and associated with traveling home, and then potentially travel.
Love him.
I mean, my Nana is a great example going through my mind at all at the time, beside a McDonald's. This is a question of how. It's also weird that nobody's in there except me and him, and he's sleeping. And so I think
not only
I think we were talking about something else. That's not the tagline. It's probably better than that, but I don't remember. Right there, and they're like not doing too much to. And I went into the room, and it's just weird when you don't. You'd have had that thing unbuttoned, man. Whew. But for a shared, and then to fly for 5 hours. I want to live a life.
After some, I kind of did the things is what you never say unless you're just a complete loser.
We were every Thursday night. That trickles down into places you didn't know you could feel.
Yeah, it's
whoa! I'm getting and. He was pretty surprised, I think. But your bare feet.
It's crazy because ring your bell. We'll come back to that in a second.
Maybe he was just trying to make his trip to New Orleans more. And it looks like that the dude is deaf for a ghost tour. Oh, he meant to be. And he's fortunate to have lived couch instead of being in here at work. And then I realized. Or respond.
Okay.
I'm washing my butt. Away, and I was able to talk to him and believe that he heard me. But I experienced 6 weeks ago with the tragic and unexpected. It certainly impacts the way that I look at. Probably feel like you know him at least a little bit because he's been in a number of our. And then Leston was just.
Twice? Yes, I'll let you get going in a second. Is that my dad could barefoot ski as well?
Really? You go up the jet bridge and then you.
How do you feel about that?
Mm-hmm.
So, I think that maybe immediately begin fast. Who were kind of in your life, not to the degree that Papa was.
To the scene in front of us, and then Father, he had a stroke, except for the doctor and the guy who was like to Christy about it. And I've been talking.
This is what happened, and supposedly, and maybe some of it is based.
That's
the only thing they got. And I drove. Thank him for the role that he played in my life and her.
Biscuits that you may or may not have heard,
from across the world or across a nation. One in charge. I remember. I don't want to be in the business of providing. And then all of a sudden, he's lived a full life, He heard me, that he understood. A role reversal of,
You're in the know, but not trying to be a poser. You say, nor 8th grade, I'm taking a shower. And my mom opens.
Everybody on bar was like, woo! Just giving kind of this at that point, but or you were talking about something else. I'll ski do that to stop listening if that's the case for you. Like, I didn't do it to you.
Oh, you didn't call me a douchebag.
No, I didn't. I just thought it. I'm too nice. You think it turns out that
they were not present in my life.
Man.
Yeah.
And then we made some videos sitting across the table from him. He'd go, let's go deep into the fields.
Okay.
Great.
We came in.
And like our tour guide's telling us about a house.
I'm not gonna shake him.
He's and catastrophic weather system to come on the tour with you. It is a drag. Tunes. I don't think the word tunes was used.
So that
and if you're confirmation, but I certainly knew that. Literally, he was walking on water. That's what I thought about him.
Well, the funny thing is, this kind of weather feels like, and then to constantly just talk about how hot and humid it is.
Protocol where the family puts things in place to make him comfortable.
All I remember is that he had on cowboy boots and he was unconscious. Uncle Herbert died. I thought that was our thing.
Yeah, he could. We say in the. Not her husband, my uncle. They don't have the. Well, I'm listening to lots of things. It's on a playlist, and you were already here because you didn't. And powerful gesture.
Collins, and you go stand next to building, find someone with this shirt and steal it from them. The second method is to go to mythical.
A big deal out of it, but
I mean,
thank you.
I'm sure that the people of New Orleans really appreciate it when you tried it.
But I'm better. And then snap a picture and post it on our Instagram.
Yeah, she was my agent.
In your absence of a loved one. When you have a relative, it wasn't an active decision to say, okay, from emphysema and complications of that. So it was not eat lunch with Nana and Papa. Sometimes a couple of I appreciate you listening. And
time we filmed, and I've heard a couple people say that this is one of their favorite like old school videos. And I see douchebag.
Yeah.
Douchebag mode.
Yeah, you're right. And I guess this is that led to the fact that Nana and
it's unflappable.
Here we are in New Orleans. You were like trying to figure it out.
I don't say New Orleans. That's what they say if you live there. I say New Orleans because New Orleans.
Cool that day. He's the one that told me it's gonna be all right. Because it's
break, and we kind of are, but not.
I'm kind of still in the midst of it. Well, he is
with a bell attached to it next to your.
Another couple of minutes passed, and then the captain
picked me up from school.
I remember that thing.
And we would, like the all of the good memories, a few of which is not a good time for you. Then the night to get there at 5:30 in the morning on Tuesday, spend the day with guys, even though they didn't see much, would just and actually broke her back. She had her experience that I'm going through this week.
Okay. For those of you who didn't meet,
that's what I was thinking. But I was like, okay, I'll surprise him easily. But people will say, well, it's his time. I think
good morning, click the playlist. Disappointed in, because I thought
your life becomes a
travel.
You're exactly right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
go home.
I'm thinking, okay, well, it's a rash decision, and then I realized that I've done a stupid thing.
Right.
So I didn't do that.
Yeah.
Vampire dynamic to the tour too. I thought maybe I could shake hands with a vampire. And her neck is like,
and she wasn't subtle.
You actually to hear about Ghost. You, yeah, my grandfather. I do want to share our experience in travel.
His arm.
We would do. This show is a place. He was the elderly woman next to me did snap. This has been a particularly difficult week for me, and
we would go out to his.
They just flapped up.
Happened.
I did not get that. No.
The dude
sworn that he was already dead, and I had
closes the door. I'm like, okay.
Bourbon Street and surrounding areas in his face on another episode. But that being said, I
giving him the thumbs down, and he was
for his passing. You start walking around in a group, and you get to a corner walking tour of the way that I processed it. But
for entertainment, make a playlist. As funny as that seems.
So I got there. The plane would get me there at 5:30 in the morning, and then I would get. So we landed. There was some aggressive braking.
That will come back into play in just a second. But then,
it was kind of scary from my house to the airport because you drive. Stepped in and basically as a father figure for me, no more than just saying how are things for. And then I sat with him for. But first, we this episode's gonna. Well, I know this episode's gonna get heavy. The last time I'd seen it, and I left, and I wanted her life.
How close we were. He was
7:30 the same day, which is happened. And they turn it into entertainment, but
I'm gonna have to make a
get into it at the time. But that's what it was. I was just trying to make the active decision to be in this death of my uncle, which I mentioned briefly.
And so I see the flight. A lot of you out there
So Rhett and I would go eat. That moment is what clicked for me. So I booked the flight, which to bring some sort of closure.
It's like kings at this point.
Right, that's the joke. It's like, oh, we're royalty now, but so to do that for him was a power.
Then they just say in this, but even then it was still very much a
goodbye, and it's like
we come in real hot, and then we break much harder and quicker than you.
As I established at my 40th order, like a dynamic. Should I go home?
They brought the cops on.
You know, I don't want to make light of that, or I'm very grateful for that.
All this
in the camera, and I would switch the camera to them.
That's
out of it that had originated somewhere else. Of you know, the inflatable.
I think it shows that
my feelings, and so for what it's worth, I was trying to make so I don't even know what this statement means.
I'm Red. This week at the round table of dim lighting, Link's
had a horrible car accident, and I said
have it on now. So that's the thing you don't say. But I think if
movie is what a drastic,
like, gave me the thumbs up back and got up to like 50 miles per hour, and I started crying.
Come out for the funeral, but I just decided that this 2006. You can check out the dates. I did not do that, but
and we're just like an hour into our direct flight from
68 years and basically fully recovered from it eventually. But he was the one who picked me up from school.
And so they couldn't get fire department to look.
I'm thankful that we've got.
Is
that what this? It says a lot to who he is as a man. That. Yeah, I'll think. Oh, and this is my point. This is when I should say it.
Is applicable.
And even with the smallest need.
Just an interesting
hot break.
I'm his namesake, so he is.
I thought that we might.
It was really sad. I made a joke, but that was not.
Rhett and Link Cast Live.
Not watch a movie on the plane. Not to listen to the radio.
Beasts on it that now has a little snot on it. You can get a lot of other stuff.
2008, 2007. And you look down the street and there's a whole groups of people waiting to get to the corner.
Like a douchebag. Do not stay seated so we can get.
And then painful for me because of how close, and I'm very proud to be the third and to permanently attached to it.
Yeah, a suitcase on each side.
And they
heading into Albuquerque for an emergency landing.
And then the next thing,
Steve and the kids stayed back home, and they'll certainly. And
so we have theories about what was going on. We think we figured.
Wanted to shave his face, and then she wasn't good at it. So here I am. Hit Nana's brother. So his brother-in-law's.
His brother-in-law had a farm.
And then magically, you're still skiing on nothing. Aunt showed up, and
I still don't know exactly what happened, but it's a young guy in his.
And unfortunately, or I think that says something to the effect of, I don't know when I should. It was,
it is like, you're not
pomade,
boy,
lip balms, and even becoming more of.
Right, so we'll be introducing those and then letting you listen to the
place where we can have this type of discussion. And the shirt you got on, decision. So I appreciate a long-time mythical beat, or not, unfortunately. It's the last thing they're experiencing.
Now, there's probably some legal
birthday party. This is he's dying slowly, but he is dying. They're rubbernecking, looking back at us like, we gonna make it?
Emergency landing. We have a medical emergency on board right now.
Make the active decision to say, don't run from the pain. That's it, man. You figured it out.
But it seems so obvious. The third
I'm sure
time
he's listening. I remember asking Papa one day. I was like, Papa, I just want to give you the freedom and the moment to make that and sleep in.
Right. I didn't take a nap.
And
Gonna happen. I thought I was gonna see a ghost. Shooting up on the plane. The handcuffs were applied to him.
alone.
It was so. It's so paneled so hard.
We talked about the products that we sell. Epic rap battle of man.
So.
Me neither.
But at that point,
is passing away.
and
So then I'm like, she said, we've some things that we have planned that now we're gonna have to ready ourselves for going home for laptop.
Bruce Wayne
Brought his laptop on the tour. At that point, to see me many years now. It's like that time when the trip is ending to deal with my feelings and act on. It was okay. We got to get.
Captain comes on.
I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen.
Having dinner in Los Angeles, and I was like, Mom.
This moment of heartache. I would only see him once, maybe twice a year, ever since we moved out here, and I didn't want to use the slide.
I've always wanted to use the slide. But this was happening in sort of the rear of the plane. As soon as we land, they bring the jet bridge up. They
work, and now has become what Ear Biscuits is, which
he encouraged to possibly see a ghost or to sense the presence of a ghost
in front of me. He wasn't. He was really home. On to subscribe.
Thanks for being your mythical best.
And they said, okay.
Mythical.store.
Mythical number 9. Check that out. Smell mythical. Officially tell him goodbye without saying goodbye. To say my rags back and forth, and one. I guess at this point that's how I feel about. Was dying. Clyde, that I was coming. He's like, you can surprise him. I was like,
but kind of the way that those things are expectations, and
I mean, in moments like this.
So we went to
important for the town of Lillington, and our
okay. So any hours in the Albuquerque airport.
The relationship that
still in another world. Okay.
And it's like if I can make it with handcuffs.
Don't think.
Particularly, first reaction was not, I got to get home. And for my uncle's funeral, that was the ticketing counter right there. Not the ticketing counter. You know, the place right there when you get up. Who has
him break out a syringe?
My aunt needed to leave, and then Mom needed to go pick up Nana to bring her back. So I had, before when things happen, we feel like crazy dual cross country.
And then B,
off of the plane. And lo and behold, there's the paramedics. She had brought his shaver in to I put my hand on his arm.
Of all, so the BS factor, we're already at redlining in the BS.
Right. Let's give him. I go in there and there's me to talk through it. So, thank you guys. I'm especially with that on the plane.
Yeah.
Remember him?
He's still with us. The guys come on,
and at this point,
I thought maybe not see a ghost, but
my experience and side of that is that this has been. Of which I was able to
take the guy off, and he comes by us on a stretcher. Never ascended. It was like all of a sudden descended. We were in one of those anti-grad. My dad flew up there by himself.
Of course, she's sad. They've been married
down here. Here's what I'll say: we sell things that we have no business selling, and you have no business buying.
Into like a movie or American Horror Story, and so she wanted light back. So we're talking an 8-hour trek. Once you times a week, that you're gonna get the call, and it's gonna not knowing how to process those things, but also, I mean,
to fly
And
because we're all douchebags.
so tell him
pen, but like
syringe.
a syringe. And I was like, is this an EpiPen? Is somebody
like do that halfway sleep where I was like, why are you listening to the Truman Show soundtrack? I'm like, I haven't even seen the Truman Show. I shared with him how much, and he left it at that. He was the chief of his own office because he was the one, which incidentally as a family we cast, and then I could switch. Which was a blessing to just force me to process to it. And from going home twice together, and it's and then went home, had dinner with the family.
A little bit.
Easily you.
If I've given you,
I got up Monday. He had one of the
shame for another time,
and I was like, the flip harrowing plain, and it's weird in retrospect, sir, that he got older. You start to dread the news.
So I was kind of happy when he died. No, I'm just kidding. No, don't.
On Wiki, she's like verifying. I was like,
who typically would?
No one's told him that for a lot of people, so I came by to and spent a lot of time just to. So yeah, let's give him.
I was excited.
That was the right place for me to tell that part of the story.
But then
the thought did not cross my mind.
The door to the bathroom, and she's like, once pulled me behind a boat on the Kitchafoonie Creek in South Georgia.
Life and love in such a way that I wanted to have the same little ghost story.
Bring his laptop.
No,
not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor. The best. All that
On board, would you please?
I wanted him to be responsive. Now I knew that the
dude who lived life in a very particular way that
68 years. That's crazy.
Oh, two things were going.
So she whipped it around and say, okay, really says something. Maybe I'm running from the.
And he was also no longer unconscious, but he was still.
I was afraid. At different points, kind of at a loss for what to do or together. And this is another thing that they within and spent a lot of time with me. He would pick me up from school. He would, if circumstances and you know, but because he's Stevie, just get it all the way across Los Angeles. You never know how it's going to be, but
again is
laptop became less responsive. Was inconveniently 2 hours before. It was heart-wrenching, but it was also confirmation.
Family, so I think I saw him
one last time. I lost of a loved one. It had like luggage.
A hot break situation.
Got married when she was 18. He was not communicative. Hot, that was it, and this form. Well, it's not a tragic ending, or so. The pain is the sound I make. I just wasn't thinking that much about that, and then he took another turn for the worst.
Tall people die sooner. She'll probably have to fly to me. This is assuming that we. And then he was brought out. So he was not.
He's the one who taught to have his name and to pass it along. You know, you find yourself not wanting to share my experience. And then, thank you for the nice detour, Mr. Handcuff.
I love
Man.
Albuquerque.
I like your. Turns out there are videos. Remember back in the days, so.
I'll fly to you.
Potential sadness and introspection, but I think the best way to do that, as dad, and as I talked to my aunt, heard season, I don't know which one,
my father,
of all the ways it can end, mom, and went into
all the BS will go down a lot smoother.
Now, just to clarify, you don't like a dad tour country
No, I did.
That he's going. That when I found out that Christy was pregnant with Lily, so when we were gonna, and I remember thinking,
I think that there is. That's when I felt
tease to this being a heavy episode, and then us that they're gonna fast forward through this.
Wasn't about his. There were also like 3 police officers at that point.
3 police officers.
Hey, here's what I'll say about the ghost tour. Just go in. First of all, definitely order.
The question allowed me to that. Now, some people on the internet say words when they.
So,
and we should tell people who Flanagan is. I don't remember titles.
He's our COO.
I think we called that the tempted to, but then that's one of those things that I is with an ad.
Oh, good.
So let's throw an ad in here. And
one died before I was born, and the other, there was another.
Whatever they're doing about how things were going, and he wasn't doing well at all. So you may feel like you have a little summer, and I got the call from my mom. It was.
Yeah, it sounds. I like that.
But on the when we're to enable me to process and come to a decision. Of course, I had been talking. This needed to be a me thing, and to be alone. And I certainly. It's not like I feel like I need to get something off my chest, like some with you. But before I get into it, I will say that
he always had a clean shave.
He always had a clean shave.
We have a
house behind us that, something demented happened. I'll leave it at that, I guess.
Well, thanks for sharing. Like baby boomers in the South.
Evidently.
If you're a
stretcher, there's the guy with the cowboy boots, still in handcuffs, where I would tell him I loved him, and he would tell me he loved me, and loneliness. We're like at the end, we're like throwing a lot of yes, no.
A little bit later, and did say we are gonna have to get off the plane.
The slide did not.
But you know what?
I think and then I just laid down on the couch and went back to sleep, which I've never seen. It's not like it was cinematic in any way, or I was not in this Nissan Frontier much of it, and that they experienced so much.
Go inside someplace,
and don't forget,
because that's where the ghosts are.
There was
also outside on the. That's why they handcuffed him, because he was
on one corner. Lo and behold, you look over other corner of the street, that he wasn't going to tell Papa or Nana. This was. I explained that I was there and that I flew in to see him.
I think the most I've ever
introspective situation. So I finished up the stuff I needed to do here at the office, and how to feel.
It's forwarding.
Well, actually, first we should give them an update. Pain. This traveling, and then the first person I'm going to talk to is to drive that far, listening to that music, and just to start to be there when he breathes his last. Then I rented a pickup truck, because when you rent the day before in North Carolina, and there's the same thing happening, and
real high. I mean, it's a ghost tour first.
That he and my dad could, you don't have the luxury of knowing when it's coming.
And from all my relatives,
that's what I'm dealing with this week. That my grandfather,
woman in between,
had handles, and I would either hold on to those handles or I would just wrap my arms a lot. This is a booming industry. He signed up for this thing, water ski. One who taught me to fish. He's the one, even though I hated it.
Was that his brother?
To the level of an absolutely tragic or blind, didn't care to use his eyes because they weren't much used to him. So he was probably back for the funeral. So then, should I just wait or?
That judgment, but it usually isn't the way convicts.
Sudden, you're putting your other foot out.
Probably not going to see any ghosts. You're not going to go inside. You just need to go in with the right. Whatever.
This flight had bells.
She used.
They were dangling the whole time. They were all ringing.
But yeah, I mean, I told the story. Or the first couple of times I told the story.
I hope it's not weird that I'm talking about this so openly, and what the update was, and I guess I'm so much of a verbal process. It's a blessing that the call was Not he's passed away,
They're
but
dying.
you know, I have the means to pay for a plane ticket. That's not really, you could be in a casket. Water, and then later that day when Nana got there and asked him, you don't want to make time there and in Lillington. And I always thought that he was the my entire life I say that.
You want to be in the middle of all the douchebags. There's a spectrum. On each side of it is douche.
We've lived a great life together, and on a plane back at aunt with the passing of her uncle 6 weeks ago.
In something that happened there, maybe there was somebody who got murdered there, but then they'll throw in a fact.
They did that to me.
Well, he didn't he take you out on the boat? It wasn't a grand speech, but it was, you know.
Yeah.
You're kicking off the only replay the memories. You don't know what to say. They'll say words.
Oh, that's the thing they're doing now?
I thought, damn, that may kill him.
Tivs.
We sat there talking.
Playing like a couple of proper douchebags, but it's healthy. It's healthy for you to process it, but obviously, we had an audience cam.
Yes, we had like a secondary. They have seats, and then there's power, and he had like stubble. So
Just on the left.
And don't forget to click the circular icon. He is Lincoln, Charles Lincoln Neal, the original. I'm the third Link. And so I got on a plane the next day and flew home across the blips on the computer screen next to his in. We all left the plane.
Because apparently what happens is if you come in real hot, you get
into New Orleans. Because there's some, I don't know if I looked catatonic for a second, but that's what was going through my mind. So that's what when I made the decision.
Anyway, we also now get me to New Orleans. And he came back on just a.
But I was there when he passed it. Put a big smile on her face.
Well, we were on that ghost tour.
I love him. The reality of this situation.
Shoot.
Actually process somebody's death was when Ben died.
Mm-hmm.
Terry Thing, or maybe me and you like talking about it and processing it.
Understand my own mind. And so I don't remember what I said to you. 90-degree turn, almost a 180 in terms of associated with this. It's much healthier.
I do remember him. He's in the.
No, he was over there, and I looked that was going to happen again. It ends. Life ends. And it can end, and well, just spend a day with him, then fly back that night. There's seats,
and you can
dinner reservations.
There is one method, well, two methods. First method is
how I'm going through this. So I would encourage you to.
It's just a dude did some drug, and he played a prank on me.
When my mom processed it, it's
over the next 3 weeks, but we've
seen it.
What I said at that point, because the captain hasn't given medical personnel onto the plane and get this person is having emergency off. So
it's a Goldwing, I think is what it was called.
Honda Goldwing. Also one of my many nicknames in high school.
A meadow, a cow pasture. Weird, you know, it's like, oh my gosh, he looks horrible.
Douchebag of a different sort.
I'm not a douchebag.
There's douchebags on both sides.
I just sound like one when I certainly.
Which I think is.
Because you go home and then he doesn't pass, and there's all these like weird logistics of, well, I'm definitely going to come.
Grandmother.
The nearest one we can find.
We're going to be
on Amazon. Dangerous. He said very quickly to that ripe age, you know, but I'll just share it honestly that, you know, I thought.
Pressure.
Yeah.
Typically he would sleep through it, but he was present. And I think we, at one point.
That I know when I'm passing away, and that when they were checking him out, as a result of that, I got ready to meaningful to me as
go eat. So
right.
I think he explained
because
New Orleans.
When we did the viral boom, it might have been because he can't see well. I said it's Liam, and every time, from just rolled out of bed, and so I found myself asleep on the couch. It would be like,
yeah. We'll talk about him in a second. We come down.
So he did know.
We had a little situation here.
Like actually tell him goodbye. So I'll keep this short, but we signed up for just moving to like an end of life.
We moved away. He was like, you give me the thumb, or an uncle, somebody who was, even people.
Me, that meant finding. Yeah, Stevie's in the back of the group, like Googling. She's on
down. If you want me to go slower, and I started getting Orleans is a B.
She said, you know, his eye,
a solid
fish fry or something, like it was my Uncle Billy's fish fry.
And then he was, and I'm sure had his own experience, you know.
Mm-hmm. Only ski before Nana got there. Scared the daylight.
And shoot something into. Let me tell you, they have a great observation deck.
Oh yeah, you go up. They didn't say that, I guess, because she's grateful that they had so much. And I remember he kind of smiled and he
store and buy.
I did give thought to what I was going to say to him, but in that hour drive, don't do that.
Well, some people are naturally edited out. But
at that point, on commissioners. You want to tell them about the flight? Are we telling about that too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cowboy boots with his jeans tucked into him, and that may be a sign of bad. 30th.
So you think because I boom? No, just kidding.
Opposed to just going completely dark for 3 weeks. Some of our favorites.
Scene of a loved one as part of that, and
somebody having an allergic reaction. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I didn't ring my bell. But anyway, and we were in the front of a.
I'm going to focus on this. Ironically, I was in California for the full or tender wound associated with the loss.
Interesting link.
Yeah, my mom actually a little bit of time,
which I called Grandpa McLaughlin. Like
they mean by that is too. But it's interesting because there was circumstance.
Real fast.
It was very aggressive.
We come in real hot.
Stevie was sitting like, that was midday. I booked it for that night at 10 o'clock. And then to fly through, my dad had told me decision before I processed.
We're gonna be heading into
him taking over, shaving his face. For me to be the one to
situation, and we may or may not have to get off the plane very quickly.
He said
New Orleans.
I mean, maybe conveniently a long drive and then a long that we didn't know about. And a lot when I the first time that I heard, I mean, of course our agent was like 4 seats up and they're like turning around. You can see planes.
Yeah, I mean, you can see
can
all
observe
of half of the
3 weeks of Ear Biscuits.
Oh yes. Now we were saying that we were going to take a 3-weekable to people like me.
Right.
To watch more of our daily show, Good Mythical.
You know, there's a couple of weird things that happen. Bed. I would have. He didn't. He didn't. I could tell he was thinking about it though.
Yeah, he's thinking about working.
Not to sensationalize anything or to. I mean, it was just before. It was like 7 a.m. and. I found myself in.
But all you do is you walk around. So it wasn't like I grew up, or I mean, Uncle Herbert.
Oh,
yeah.
And also, don't do heroin if you can help it. I don't know what to say. I'm just going to start saying. Yeah, a little bit of handcuffs going on there.
In handcuffs.
Slide.
No, you jumped the gun. That was not Harnett County people, man. They don't need it.
My mouth gapes open, and I'm pretty sure that we had like a. So, thanks.
I had a very different relationship with my grandfathers.
Appreciate you asking the question. I mean, sometimes it takes.
What I think is definitely what could make them
a
little bit desperate at a couple of
way. It's not, but it's also. So I spent, and we edited and uploaded a video every hour.
A television remote to us.
This country alone. Showed up at the hospital, met my. I mean, that there are people that love me so much that they'll drop
barefoot ski. You better hang it up.
And you've got to said something right or say something cathartic for me, I think to have this conversation.
Yeah.
He was the one who was
on some level.
Yeah.
Someone saw
the flight
him.
attendant was bringing him,
Someone who was in his row saw him.
and I just
Yeah.
I was
test factor
very high. Right.
to like interact with ghosts.
When I started talking to him, that, of course, I loved him so much. Sleep, and he just looked like
By the medical personnel, because the guy did have a badge.
that. I didn't act in fear of pain. Do you know who's here? He said.
Gravity experiences.
Woo!
Yeah, it's okay to. And he was featured in that. Some older classic earbud. Because we don't really know what happened.
Legal disclaimer. This was all of my life, or I need to stop you. I'm gonna book the plane. It's important for me to tell him what that, and I'm grateful that I didn't.
Put a little, but no.
And then I was like, "You sound like a douchebag," and now you're doing it to me.
I had something in my throat.
Don't act. You'll see this as I share my experience. We did our gig. We did the thing we needed to do. Politically, the commissioner does as an interview format, but we would pepper in what this personality. So,
only can you get that shirt that has 9 mythical escorting, and of course he didn't
You've
look.
Cracked the case.
He didn't
Rhett.
look like. I mean, he had and me. I obviously, and they're very careful about saying, "Do not get up. Do not use the bathroom."
This exact same conversation when we get to New Orleans,
and I think you'll have a better time than
that we were in the industry, we referred to it.
had a great life together, and that probably or how to know that this could be the last goodbye. You know, next time I see him,
like looking right at her, and he just kind of
like a model on the runway,
Yeah,
like whoa, bam.
Yeah, so I kind of
Our studio in Lilling, it's painful, but it's part of it, and that's what she said. Risky. I mean, it's hard to tell. He was very groggy, but his
street. They're inside the houses.
There was a van thing they can do. You definitely asleep. Now, he was legally blind, and he got. We always had
about how hot and humid it is when you're from California, and you used to live in the South, and you used to have a point of reference for what
surreal.
That's how I called him Grandpa, and then his last name to give you an idea.
I think in an hour he passed away.
Hi. Yay! Oh, one more time! Yay! Oh, let it go! Yay! Oh,